Contrary to popular belief, working 60 plus hours a week is actually killing you and your business. Don't believe me? Let me tell you a story. So Jay owns a company that does remote security monitoring for job sites. Now, when I met Jay, it was 2021. And Jay, at the time, was working 70 to 80 hours a week. Now, mind you, he's moving equipment from job site to job site. Here's the crazy part. At the time, his company was doing over $2 million a year in business. $2 million a year, right? But Jay was working 70 plus hours a week. In fact, the week before I met him, he and his buddy had driven from Phoenix, Arizona to Orlando, Florida to drop off a piece of equipment and then turned around and drove back. For those of you that are counting, that's over 24 hours one way, and they did it there and back. Now, it sounds really cool to like wear that badge of honor, like, hey, I'm doing 7 figures, I'm doing 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, whatever that number is, sounds really cool. But at the same time, what are you sacrificing in the process? You see, for Jay, he was overweight, extremely overweight. He was having marriage issues. In fact, his wife wanted to leave him. He was having mental health issues, wondering if it was all worth it, the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm. And he had to make a decision. Now, before I tell you what Jay's decision was, I want you to think about what I just said. Are you Jay? Are you the guy who wears that 60 plus hours a week as a badge of honor? Where you get home late at night and your kids are already asleep? Your wife made you some food sitting in the microwave, but it's cold by now because it's been sitting there for 2 hours. You try and tiptoe in quiet because you don't want to wake anybody up. Your wife's asleep on the couch, TV still on. And you and I both know you're going to eat dinner and then do some more work. And then repeat it the next day and the next day and the next day. But no, wait, you hired a team. And that team is going to work for you this weekend so you don't have to. So you can attend your niece's birthday party. Except they get drunk the night before and don't show up for work. And that means you have to work. So guess who misses the party? It's you. Working as much as you're working is not only killing you, it's killing your family and it's killing your business. But I want to show you what it is that you can do to deal with this, okay? Now, why? Why does it lead to so many issues? Well, the first thing you have to understand is your body's a machine. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's a machine. If it doesn't eat, it doesn't work. If it doesn't drink, it doesn't work. If it doesn't sleep, rest, and recover, it doesn't work. Fatigue, overwhelm, lack of judgment or the wrong judgment, errors. We've all had to deal with it in the past. If you remember Henry Ford, the guy who invented the Model T, right? Ford Motor Core. Henry Ford did a study and realized that there was a significant drop-off in the quality of work after 40 hours in a work week. So he was the one that established the original 40-hour work week. But think about it this way. Think about it this way. There have been multiple studies done. In fact, I read one from the Sherpa Performance Guides, and they said that for every hour after 40 hours, your work performance, i.e. your productivity, decreases by an average of 2 to 10% per hour. So if you're working 50 hours, you could be anywhere from 10% less efficient to 50% less efficient. And it only goes downhill from there. The likelihood of you committing some type of mistake or error increases by 50%. Now think about that. You're trying to run a business, you're trying to maintain profitability, you're trying to grow, and yet the very thing that you're doing, i.e. work, is causing you more problems than it is helping you, and more mistakes. Now, what about the second part of this? The second part of this is this idea of strategic planning. Now, I talk about this all the time. You think about this all the time, but it's called working on your business instead of in your business. If you're working 60 plus hours in your business, what are you not doing? You're not working on your business. And I don't care whether you're just you and your cousin, right? We like to call it checking a truck. I don't care if you have 50 employees. But if you're working 60 plus hours, I guarantee you're not doing one thing. And that's thinking about the future, thinking about growth, solving problems long-term. Warren Buffett once said that you need to spend a minimum of 2 hours a day working on your business. 2 hours a day. And right now, you spend 2 hours a day driving. Can you see the problem with that? And here's the question you really need to answer. If you're not working on or focused on the growth of your business, who is? Now, that's not the only thing. I want you to think about your physical body again. I want you to think about how it is that it works, right? Your body's full of hormones, right? It's full of all these different chemicals that are supposed to allow you to function properly. But when you deplete those chemicals, fatigue, hypertension, stress, anxiety, burnout, what do you think happens to your body? More problems and more issues. And I'll tell you, there's a ton of construction workers, a ton of business owners in the construction space that have substance abuse issues, drinking problems, all kinds of other issues related to the fact that they are just plain and simply worn out. Now, I already talked about this in Jay's example, but I want you to think about this as well. Maybe you're not married. Okay, fine. Hustle, grind, do whatever you want to do. But the majority of you have a significant other. The majority of you have a family. The majority of you tell yourself in your mind that you're doing this for your family. And yet, there is no semblance of family in your life. Even when you're home, you're on your phone or you're on the computer. Yeah, you're sitting next to your wife at night while she's watching a Hallmark movie. And what are you doing? Typing out invoices, putting together estimates, right? You're still working, which means you're not connecting with the very person that you should be connecting with. And I'll tell you right now, I've seen it time and time again. There's nothing worse than being 60 years old, having all the money that you could ever want in your life and having nobody to share it with. Your wife and your kids moved on. Why? Why wouldn't they? You weren't around for them. And the last piece is this idea of creativity. Why did you start your business to begin with? You probably started it because you had this idea of this possibility that could exist, right? Being a plumber, a painter, an electrician, a roofer, a remodeler. And you had this idea that you could do it better and you were going to do it different. And you spend time and energy creating a logo and creating your invoices and training your people and all of these things that require creativity. But guess what happens when you're tired? You just go through the motions, right? Imagine showing up at an estimate for a $150,000 job or a $500,000 job or, heaven forbid, a 7-figure job. And you look like a zombie, a shell of yourself. How is that going to work out for you? You really think you're going to be able to close that deal? You really think they want to do work with you? Man, this guy doesn't have it together. Why do I want him on my job site? Why do I want him in my house? So think about that, okay? All of these different things. And I'm going to go back to Jay, right? Jay was at the point of losing it all. Physically, emotionally, mentally, his family, work, everything. And Jay had to make a decision. And the decision was, what do I actually want out of this business? And see, he knew what he wanted. He wanted to be successful financially, but he wanted to be successful financially so that he could spend more time with his family. But realized in the process, he didn't actually have to sacrifice the thing that meant the most to him. And it doesn't have to happen to you either. See, it happened to Jay over a period of time. He was able to make this transition to balancing out the things that matter most in his life. He started to put himself and his health first. He started to hire people, train them, and then let go of that position so that he wouldn't be responsible for it anymore. He started to spend time on his mental health and well-being. And I can tell you today that Jay's company does more than $7 million a year in business, and he works less than 5 hours a week. Now, how is that possible? How is his business able to grow with him working less? Because of this right here. Taking care of himself, putting his family first, making sure that he maintained that focus on the big picture, i.e., how do I solve this problem long term instead of me being the solution, instead of me being the savior of the business, and built it to a place where he can enjoy life with his family. So I'm going to challenge you and your belief in your thought that you need to work 60 plus hours a week. And I want you to ask yourself this question. What if I couldn't? What if I couldn't work 60 plus hours a week? Then what? Then what would I do? Right? Start challenging your belief in the way that a business has to be run. If you had no other choice other than work 40 hours a week, how would you get the rest of the work done? That's the focus that you need to have. All right, you know what time it is. It's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go. Thanks for listening to the Success Unleashed podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by liking, subscribing, and leaving us a review. Until we see you again, it's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go.